Hey guys, button 20 watching launch PAZ, I don't know Spanish, atop a Falcon 9 from Vandenberg Air Force Base's Space Launch Complex 4. Because I'm pretty sure that's what it is. That's what it is. Currently, well, I will admit, but it also carries two demo sets.
Go for launch.
Carries two demo sets for SpaceX's internet satellite constellation. So this is just a replay basically, but it is the entire webcast. So. And I was in school at the time of launch, so there is that, because I am in GMT time zone. But I have deliberately not watched this system.
15. Configured for flight.
So 10 seconds to lift off. Oh.
10, 9, 7, 6, 5, 4.
Altitude already
3,
200 meters.
2, 1.
Ignition. And the lift off of the Falcon 9. So this payload is a radar satellite for Spain, and as such is going to be put in a sun synchronous orbit, is the word I am looking for. The first stage will not be recovered. There will be no attempts to land at all. Not like the Dutch payload it was that landed on the ocean and ended up surviving. And ended up getting destroyed by the Air Force, the US Air Force.
For those of you just joining us, you are watching the Falcon 9 as it descends through the atmosphere, carrying the PAZ satellite to a polar sun-synchronous orbit. Right now, the rocket is approaching what we call max Q. This is the point at which the aerodynamic forces in the rocket are at the greatest.
You can see the
Falcon 9 actually throttles itself down as it passes through max Q and throttles back up once we're through.
You can see the kind of the Mach effects kind of dissipating now.
Vehicle has reached maximum aerodynamic pressure.
Okay, we're about roughly looking at a bit past halfway to Miko. 2,000 kilometers an hour. We're actually with 23 kilometers.
We just passed through our maximum aerodynamic pressure, max Q. That Falcon 9 rocket is now throttling back up to full speed as it ascends through the atmosphere.
I wonder if there's going to be any... I haven't checked Facebook or any other social media in relation to this. But I'm curious to whether there's going to be this whole bunch of things.
As that first stage ascends higher and higher through the atmosphere, the ambient air pressure starts going further and further down, so you can see those exhaust gases getting bigger and bigger on your camera screen right now. In about 20 seconds, we're going to be passing through what we call MECO, which is main engine cutoff.
Where the first
that's when that first stage is going to complete its burn. Shortly after that, we'll have stage separation, and then second engine start. SES-1. Let's watch that happen now.
SES. Oh, second stage and start 1. That is going to be the other mission. Right, we have MECO. We have stage SEP. And we have SECO. Not SECO, SES.
You just saw it on your screen. Was a good MECO, main engine cutoff, a good separation of that first stage, and then appears to be a successful second engine start 1. Stand by for fairing deploy.
SEP. You can see the two demo satellites to the
and you just saw it on your screen. That was a successful fairing deploy.
You
can see the fairing falling down below the second stage.
Is the fairing going to be
SpaceX
reused?
will be attempting to recover this fairing today.
Wow, called that perfectly. Timing, at least. Because I genuinely didn't know.
On your screen right now, you can see the Merlin Vacuum D and radially cooled engine nozzle, that vents the heat from those hot exhaust gases by radiating that energy. You can see it glowing red hot, burning that energy away.
As opposed to the original Falcon 1 first stage, which was a blazer, which was where the covering would just...
For those of you down in Southern California, you might get a good glimpse of those exhaust gases as the second stage accelerates. Looked like a nice clear morning today in Los Angeles.
Yeah, this is, you know when you ever see these, oh, UFO spotted over Miami or Los Angeles, things like that. No, it's just a bloody Falcon or an Atlas 5. Those are the only ones I've seen get called get called UFOs.
As the second stage ascends higher and higher into orbit, let's talk a little bit about exactly what orbit we're going to today. This is a low Earth orbit polar sun-synchronous orbit. Low Earth orbit, rate of the orbit above the Earth, so things such as the International Space Station are also Earth orbit, but they orbit more along the equator, which is what's called a low inclination orbit. A polar orbit circles vertically about the Earth with respect to its poles, so that it passes over the north and the south poles. This is the orbit we're going to today. Certain types of polar orbits, like this one, a sun-synchronous orbit, keeps the orbit's plane directly in line with the sun. This allows any satellite that's in a sun-synchronous orbit to see all points of the Earth from exactly the same lighting conditions as illuminated by the sun.
Yeah, I don't really understand how that works.
This is extremely useful for imaging
explain
applications, which would be the PAZ spacecraft's primary intended purpose. Low Earth orbits only require a single burn, so we won't be having a coast phase or a second engine start too, like we would normally have for Earth orbit launches.
Yes, as you can see, the second stage burn is much longer than the first stage. Also, we're approaching 10,000 kilometers an hour, and at an altitude of 340. So this is approaching the altitude of where the ISS is, which is at, I believe, around 450 kilometers.
For those of you just joining us, we did have a successful liftoff of the Falcon 9 rocket at exactly 6:17 a.m. Pacific time from Space Launch Complex 4 in Vandenberg Air Force Base. After that, the first stage completed its job and separated from that second stage. We're currently watching the second stage as it continues its first burn, its only burn today, and accelerating that PAZ spacecraft to a low Earth orbit. The next major event is going to be T plus 8 minutes and 58 seconds. That cutoff is going to happen, also known as SECO. Right now you can see the curvature of the Earth just behind that Merlin vacuum D engine nozzle.
Approaching 500 kilometers.
All telemetry is still looking nominal from that second stage, getting good signal. As we burn fuel in that second stage, the second stage actually gets lighter and lighter, but the engine thrust remains the same. So in order to keep a constant acceleration second stage and its payload, we actually throttle that Merlin vacuum engine down. We're getting close towards the end of the burn right now, so that throttle down is beginning. Coming up next in about 40 seconds is going to be SECO, second engine cut. That second stage Merlin vacuum engine is going to shut off, having completed its primary burn. And then a minute after that, or 2 minutes after that, we're going to have payload separation. So stand by for SECO in about 20 or 30 seconds from now.
So yeah, so far the fairing has landed, I've just looked this up now, the fairing has landed near the boat. That's the first two Starlink satellites, which are the demo satellites. Tintin A and Tintin B. Yeah, hopefully you all know who
And
Two
everything is safe. Yes, Eco 1.
And you just saw it on your screen, that
There we
was
go.
a second engine cut there. The second stage has now completed its burn, and that's Merlin vacuum engine is on.
Insertion.
We just got confirmation of a good
And
orbit.
somebody just pushed back.
That means that we have reached the intended low Earth orbit point. Right now, the primary payload, that PAZ spacecraft, is still attached to the top of the second stage by way of a payload adapter fitting. It has some locks and some springs. In about 1 minute and 30 seconds from now, those locks are going to release, and the springs will give the PAZ satellite a gentle push away from the top of the second stage, so that it can begin its own journey into low Earth orbit.
Very close to.
We are now 1 minute away from that payload deploy.
Yes.
Like we were saying earlier, we're going to be having or hopefully we'll have a view from the top of the second stage looking at the PAZ satellite as it deploys. You may see on the sides of the spacecraft, you're going to see things, those will be the SpaceX demo satellites. We'd love to give you footage of two, but unfortunately, the second stage will be passing out of ground station coverage before those satellites deploy. So we're just going to be covering that primary payload satellite deployment. Stand by for deployment in about 10 to 15 seconds.
Okay, it looks like we may have lost ground station tracking. Oh, there we go. See the two Starlink satellites? And deployment of the PAZ.
And there you can see it. That looks like a successful operation of the payload of the PAZ satellite. You can see those SpaceX demo satellites to the left and the payload adapter fitting, but the primary payload is right now gliding second stage. Soon it will unfurl its own solar panels and start communicating with the ground teams. So right now this is going to bring an end to our webcast coverage. For those of you who just joined us, we had a successful launch from Space Launch Complex 4, successful stage separation and a good second engine burn, and then finally, just now, a good separation of that PAZ satellite. I'd like to thank the customer PAZ and ISDASAT for allowing us to launch their payload to low Earth orbit today. I'd like to thank the Air Force and the Range and the FAA for their support of today's launch, and of course you, the viewers, for waking up bright and early on this Thursday morning to watch the Falcon 9 launch. Unfortunately, we can't bring you coverage of those SpaceX demo satellites. We don't have coverage to show you, but you can follow us on social media for updates on the demo in their minute. If you'd like to come work for us, please check out spacex.com/careers. Yet again, thanks for letting us share this Falcon 9 launch with you, and have a great day.
So guys, that was the launch of the PAZ satellite atop an expendable SpaceX Falcon 9 on Martin 25. Goodbye.